Hey, what's going on, NGT community? It's Guns for Hire from NextGenTactics, and I have a story that's not directly related to video games, like it's not talking about video games, but the application of what they're doing does potentially affect, or can potentially affect, the development of video games in the future, hopefully the near future, because that would be amazing. Anyway, for those of you that don't know, there's a special going on Jeopardy right now, you know, where they ask questions, what is Guns for Hire? And the question is, this guy is bald and has a freakishly scraggly beard. You know what I mean? Anyway, so there's a special where it's actually two human contestants versus the new IBM supercomputer called Watson. Now, if you remember a while ago, IBM had created a computer called Deep Blue, and it had played and defeated the world's grand chess champion. I can't remember his last name. Irrelevant. I don't really care. And everyone was like, oh, yeah. That, as a, sort of impressive. I mean, the fact of the matter is that Deep Blue, when it defeated the chess champion, really all it did, and I shouldn't say all, because it was a very, very intelligent computer system, basically took every single possible move and did it in seconds, calculating every single move that person, the champion with the human player would make, and then calculated out, what could the possible outcomes be? What should my next move be? And based on that move, what could he do from there? So it was like millions and millions of calculations in seconds, and had to figure out what exactly the best optimal move was. So there was still some component of what we deemed to be thinking, but it was more logical, using logic algorithms and everything to basically say this is the best path right here. So granted, I mean, as impressive as that was, it was more kind of like, well, it is a computer kind of thought, you know what I mean? But this one here, this Watson, this new computer, is actually, I consider it to be considerably more impressive, and that's what the media is taking away from this as well. And here's why. If I can get a link to it, there's a PBS video actually, I think on YouTube, and I'll put a link to it in the video if I find it, and you can watch it there. But basically what it's going to do is it actually has to not only, it's not logic. I mean, they basically filled this huge network. I think it was, how many was it? Did they say 6,000? I can't remember. Basically tons and tons of friggin' personal computers basically would have to fit into this thing. Just multiple computers. And the way they look at it is the brain is set up in multiple segments, so they set it up the same way. Certain areas are responsible for certain calculations, and that's what they're essentially trying to create here. Now granted, this is still a huge computer, so it's not like we're going to be having walking Terminators and robots that are incredibly intelligent, at least not anytime in the near future. That being said, the computer, what it basically does is it recognizes speech. So it's understanding, this is beyond what Deep Blue did with the chess, because the chess, it was entered in, okay, here's the move, this is what he just did, and then it calculates and spits it out. Whereas this computer has to recognize, understand the speech, properly interpret it, and extrapolate what it believes to be the best decision, not the correct one, because in math it's very easy. 1 + 1 is 2. A computer is amazing at doing that. But what this computer actually has to do is determine what are they likely talking about? What is the best, path that they're actually talking about? So from all the information verbally that they're giving, when he's saying the actual question, speech recognition. So the computer actually has to understand what's being said and then properly extrapolate the answer. But the tricky part for this computer, and the wow factor, at least from the nerdy standpoint in me, is that it has to understand things like puns and metaphors and similes, poetry. It has to be able to correlate that and understand jokes, like what it means by these things, that it's not it's not illogical, you know what I mean? If you look at, I know I'm going to say this wrong, Star Trek, I'm just going to say Star Wars. I totally did watch Star Trek a lot too. But Star Trek Data, from Next Generation, and it was like, that's not logical. Well, the computer actually can't just take what's logical. It's got to try and understand the sort of the poetry of speech and try and get what the actual right answer is. So The programmers for Watson basically filled it with tons of information, World Encyclopedia, everything that it could possibly find on the internet, like database-wise, and just rammed it in there. But the computer has to do more than just take that information and then give the right answer. It has to take bits of everything all over the place and say, is it really what they're talking about here? And then correlate and make some sort of decision and say, this is likely what they're talking about. This seems to be the most, well, logical answer based on what I've heard and based on my understanding of it and based on the category. You know, is it a joke? Is it really just a metaphor? Are they not directly talking about what the actual answer is? And that is very difficult up till, well, I would say up till now, but still sort of, this is more of an experiment. So it's got to be able to do that. And I watched actually the video, if I can find it, from PBS, which is a public broadcasting system. Basically, it shows, like, for the understanding words and letters and stuff like that, what they didn't do is they didn't say, here's the letter A, that's what an A looks like. And so the computer's like, okay, it's an A, easy, boom, boom, boom. What they did was they took like millions of versions of A's, whether it was dotted, colorful, made up of animals, 3D versions, 2D versions, script, like squirrely versions, and they just rammed it all in there and they said, figure it out. This is what an A is. And what the computer, what Watson had to do was basically take all those images and say, this is the concept of what an A is. And then in its own sort of file systems, it came up with its own sort of way to recognize an A. So that when you put in an A that it's never seen before, something abstract, it could actually take that and say, that's an A. Based on my understanding and the way it looks and what it could possibly be, that's an A. That's the letter A. So that's actually very, very impressive that the computer's going beyond, basically it's learning. The computer is learning, and this is where a lot of people, you know, I see a lot of articles over the years where people are like, oh, we shouldn't be doing this. We do not need thinking computers. I'm all absolutely for it. I always have been for it. I think it's absolutely fabulous that we're going to have this. I mean, they're looking at things like medical field, the medical field application, where someone comes in and says, I have this problem, this problem, this problem, this problem, and then they feed in all the data. They could talk to it because it's got voice recognition and say, well, here's what came back from the, this is what we know from the blood work, this is what happened when we did the surgery, this is what we saw. And the computer, without any emotion, is going to be able to say, okay, well, based on this and all this information here, this is likely, not with certainty, but likely that this is what it is that this person has. And so with that sort of technology and that movement in artificial intelligence, we move away from the rigid, this is what the answer is, to, you know, based on my understanding and my own learning, this is what it likely could be. And I think it's absolutely fabulous that they're doing that. So it's going on Monday, February 14th, today on the 15th, and tomorrow on the 16th. And it'll be done. But I watched a little bit of some of the cues. It's actually, as of Monday, it was tied with the lead. It was tied for the lead. And it comes up with the answers really fast. It does get them wrong. It gets them wrong because sometimes it doesn't understand. But here's the beauty about it. When it actually gets it wrong, it learns from it. It's like it takes the right answer and takes the answer it thought it was and then correlates and says, okay, why did I get it wrong? And it actually programs itself, just like with the letter recognition. It says, okay, I got this wrong because of this, and this was the answer, so how did I get that wrong, and now I have to fit that into it. So every time it's getting something wrong, just like a human or any other animal learning something, it actually learns from it, corrects it so that it doesn't make that mistake again. But it's something that's not programmed into it. The people that actually designed the computer never said, okay, well, this is how you're going to fix it. You know, go in and program it. The computer does that itself. It recognizes, okay, I made a mistake. That's what the answer is. How did I not do that? And then fits and makes the pathway there so it avoids it as well. So every time it gets something wrong, it's actually learning, which I think is absolutely fabulous. But a lot of people get scared about that. They think that it's dangerous to have computers that start thinking. They start thinking movies like Terminator, Matrix, Space Odyssey, you know, 2010. Where you get psychotic computers trying to kill everyone. You know, I don't know. Do you feel it's dangerous? Do you feel it's dangerous to be creating a computer like this? I mean, this is really just a starting. Think of it as the as the PlayStation or the Xbox. And upgraded versions are sure to come, and they're going to be a lot more impressive than this. They're going to be a lot better than this. I know PC gamers are like, blah! Imagining consoles on a concept like this, it's insulting. I'm just saying that because most of our audience are console gamers. But anyway, how do you feel about it? Do you think it's a good thing? Do you think we should be progressing this way? Should we be getting super thinking computers? Think about the application in a video game. Instead of having these dolts, these video games as AI friggin' bots, you know what I mean, where the outcome is so predictable when we're playing games that you can play it on again and again and again, and as you're playing it, you just learn because their movement is sort of preordained, and you know where they're going to go, you know what they're going to do, you get to a certain checkpoint, and then things change. But what if we play a game down in the future, 10 years from now, where even a fraction of this artificial intelligent, free-thinking type of computer creates a game for us where the experience is always different. It's always changing based on what you're doing in there. A different player is going to get a different outcome. A different player's, the enemy is going to react differently because your strategy is different. It's going to adjust. It's going to move to a different location. If you're not doing anything, if you're not moving anywhere, it's going to actually say, you know what, this person isn't moving. Let's try and flank them. And it's going to change it based on what you're doing. So an actual video game with real intelligence, I say quotes because a lot of it's a big debate on whether or not a computer can be intelligent. I believe eventually it will be, and I think Watson is the step in there. But what do you feel? Would you like to see games where the computer, and you can change the difficulty level, but the experience is always different? You could play the same campaign mode over and over again and always have a different game, a different outcome, different enemy players, you know what I mean? I think that would be fabulous. Fabulous for a lot of things, and obviously the applications in real life for things like medicine and everything like that are astounding. I mean, they could be incredible. Or are some of you scared of this technology? Do you think it's a bad thing? Do you think we should not allow these computers to be free thinkers and eventually create androids and stuff like that, the stuff we see in movies? You know, I mean, I think we're far off from that, but we're certainly heading in that direction. Leave your comments, I'm very curious. I'm Gunther Ryer from NextGenTactics, and those are just my opinions. Peace. Thanks for watching. Whether it's positive or negative, please comment and rate the video. Help us improve. Hey guys, we're on Netflix! Okay, well, we're not on Netflix, but we are officially sponsored by them now. Thousands of movies and TV shows available every day at the click of a button. For a free 1-month trial membership, simply click on the link in the description, courtesy of NextGenTactics. Yeah, you're welcome.